With Signal 4, it was a lot easier because we could just say to the alert, come in at this time, you're this kind of an alert, you follow this escalation policy, and that's all that we really had to worry about. In setting up the platform altogether, I think I spent maybe a day's worth of work.
Imagine it's 2 a.m. and your phone lights up, another critical alert. For Conexus Credit Union, that used to mean false positives, clunky tools, and frustrated teams, but everything changed with Signal 4. In this episode, hear how Conexus streamlined incident response, boosted confidence, and found simplicity in the middle of the complexity. Welcome to the Derdack podcast with Kyle Bates from Conexus and Doreen Jacobi from Derdack. Enjoy listening.
Good morning, Kyle. Great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us with the Derdack Signal 4 podcast here this morning. In a few words, can you briefly introduce yourself? That'd be great.
Absolutely. Good morning, and thanks for having me. My name is Kyle Bates. I am a security analyst for Conexus Credit Union, which is a local credit union based in Saskatchewan, Canada. And I have been in IT for about 10 years now, and spent most of it doing incident management and now transitioning over to cybersecurity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's jump right in. Today's podcast evolves all around alerting and communication in critical situations, because that's what Signal 4, our solution, is geared at, and would be really interested in understanding, and I'm sure the audience as well, why you would need something like Signal 4, right? So what were the requirements that made you look for a solution like ours?
Yeah, absolutely. What we were looking for is we were a bit scattered as far as alerting and monitoring and things like that go. And we were just looking for something that could simplify what we had and make it easier, something that integrated really well with the different alerting platforms that we currently have, and something that would let us adjust and tweak and modify and move forward as we kind of, made sure that we were getting the right alerts at the right time.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we said we're going to chat a little bit about Signal 4, which is our solution for automating your critical communication. And you mentioned that they're about security, cybersecurity. So, and I'm going to dive right in. I might as well. So in a world where you have constant, like the always on, and we have a lot of threats going on, obviously it is mandatory to know what's going on in your environment. And the more you rely on technology, the more important it becomes to kind of like match the technology to the people, right? That can potentially fix issues. So the topic of today's podcast will evolve around what kind of needs you had when you started looking for a solution like ours, and what you are using it for, so that we can hopefully give the audience some tips and tricks as to how they can improve on their security practices.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started looking for a solution, we realized that we were pretty scattered throughout our different teams on what they were doing for alerting. My majority of my IT background comes from incident management and incident response. So I knew the importance of having something solid, reliable, easy to use. Our solution at the time wasn't the greatest. It was kind of hobbled together, and so as one of our projects for that year was looking for something that would better fit our position, and then also looking for something that would grow with us. So we're working on potentially talking to other teams about getting onto an integrated single platform for alerting, and just making sure that we've got something that will work for us and for everybody else. So that was a big look for us, big piece of the puzzle for us.
Did you have any particular like moments that you can share with the audience where you said enough is enough? We've been dealing with this for so long, and was there like this one incident that kind of made you realize you needed something additional to what you were already using?
I think that big kind of moment came when we were working on trying to tweak and adjust, just make small adjustments as you do with alerting platforms. And the places that we had alerts coming from and going to required a pretty heavy lift in order to do small tweaks and small changes. Um, Lots of middleware that we had to build out to, to integrate into the systems that we needed it to. And that was kind of a bit of a light bulb moment for us going, okay, we need to look at something a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more robust for what we had.
Were there particular requirements from your policies or processes that you needed to keep in mind when you were on the lookout for something? Or was it just like, oh, this is the gap and we need to find something if there even is something out there? Did you have any knowledge of what the market would throw at you?
Yeah, we knew from a policy standpoint, we do have the 24/7 with a number of our different teams. And so having something that was easy for internal teams to get a hold of us was the big thing. And then having something that this is something that's gonna, potentially wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning. On Christmas Eve type of a thing. So we always look at it that way, that if we're going to be integrating with something that's going to do that, we need to be able to hone and get rid of false positives um, and all those things. So it wasn't necessarily a policy thing, more of just a process for keeping our own sanity. So
That makes a lot of sense because keeping your own sanity is kind of like, with all the craziness going on, it's kind of like mandatory.
yeah, absolutely. It never stops. So you got to have something in there.
Right. And do you have, as far as you know, like any particular sources that you integrate with? So, or do you just, how do you get the alerts, I guess, that you notify out on into Signal for?
So a lot of our alerts come from our SIEM system. So that system was somewhat limited in the way that it reaches out. And so when we were looking at different solutions, we needed something that integrated really well with our SIEM solution and bringing that data over. And that was kind of a big use case for us, was ensuring that we could get as much data, because if you're woken up in the middle of the night, you want to be able to look at your phone and go, oh, okay, I know what this is. This could wait till tomorrow, or oh no, the world's on fire. I gotta jump on this right away. So yeah, it was mostly from our SIEM system at the time. We've kind of integrated everything into that SIEM at this point, but we did have a few other extraneous antivirus and network monitoring and stuff like that as well, kind of fed into that as well.
Do you know the names of these tools, or are they homegrown or?
We use Rapid7 as our SIEM system. And so with their integrations into or their ability to send out different alerts and monitoring and things like that, it helped us with kind of integrate properly.
What's the network? Just out of curiosity, what's the network monitoring that you're using?
So we used Bitdefender
Oh,
um, as our as our antivirus, and it also does network protection as well. And so we do get a fair amount of alerts for blocked websites and anti-phishing and anti-malware type of alerts that come in with that.
yeah, because I imagine, like, given the background of your company, that there's like some additional strain and regulations that you need to keep in mind. Like the financial industry has their own.
It is, and we just announced as well that the Conexus Credit Union is merging with two other credit unions.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a big move for us. We're all kind of because we're co-ops, it's not really a buyout or a takeover of any kind. It's just an amalgamation of all of the different credit unions. And so for us, as soon as we announced that, the cyber attacks, the phishing campaigns just spiked through the roof, because now we're
That.
on a national scale, we're making the news and we're making headlines, and and threat actors and anybody who wants access to the systems just all of a sudden has a big target. So it's been an interesting few months being in that position. So
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, I imagine too, like, when you look for something and you have like certain ideas in mind of what a solution should do for you, and then you get your hands on it, and then you start implementing it. Like, how did that feel for you? Like, was there, mm I guess, a particular approach, or did you just say, "Hey, this was I didn't even have to think about it." But is there anything that you can share with the audience with respect to also what's important for you? Probably is that it's as easy as possible, and you don't need to get your brains around how to actually make use of a solution.
yeah, that was a big piece was ensuring that it was simple but robust.
Mhm.
Being able to say we've got this alert coming from this platform, it's going to here. I need it to alert in this way. And for example, one of the things that we had was a certain piece of our antivirus solution that we had. We wanted it to come in, but we wanted to make sure that we knew that it was that alert, but we wanted to make sure that it did not alert overnight because there were a lot of it was a fair bit of noise that we were working on tuning, and 99% of what came in we really didn't need to have overnight, so we only wanted it certain hours of the day, and so that piece was one of the important pieces because the platform that we were using before it became a little bit more difficult to tune that to the right thing, and you're setting up a whole bunch of different schedules to kind of make it work, where with Signal 4 it was a lot easier because we could just say to the alert, come in at this time, you're this kind of an alert, you follow this escalation policy, and that's all that we really had to worry about. So I believe in setting up the platform altogether, I think I spent maybe a day's worth of work, and that was integrating all of the different platforms and getting the call routing set up, and then the ad hoc paging and
Right.
everything like that. I think was maybe a day and a half's worth of work. So it was refreshing.
That's good to hear. And I like how you phrased it. Like you could just take this alert and tell that alert, this is who you are. It's like,
Yeah.
personification of your alert and tell it what it should do. I love it. Um,
Yeah.
the 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 integration that you guys did, was it like, are you using any particular APIs, or did you just are you just doing it by email, or how you're integrating your
That
systems?
was the that was the nice thing is that we did have a few pieces of middleware built in, mostly just kind of PowerShell scripts to grab things and dump it over. Right now, we were able to integrate just with the emails, which worked out perfectly. We do have a couple of systems on the back end that I think if we are able to convince the teams to integrate, we'll have to do some API calling with that. But yeah, uh, just the email itself and the information that comes over with that was good enough to get us rolling, and we're happy with it.
That's great. Like, remind me again, kind of like, how many people do you have on the platform now?
So we have four people on the platform now. So we have our manager and the three on the security team. And the three of us kind of manage everything. We're all admins in there, being able to tweak and change what we need to, and and kind of take hold of what we find is important. So it works well for us.
No, that's awesome. India, is there a particular, or was there, I should say, a particular need for the mobile app aspect of it, since this is something that we're heavily focused around, the mobile first approach, as we call it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That was fun because when we the other platforms that we were using had the mobile app, but it wasn't nearly as clean as the Signal 4 app was. So that um, was a big selling feature for us
Right.
when we have when we were kind of setting up the proof of concept. I think there was two of us on the team that had dealt with a lot of alerting platforms, and we kind of looked at it and went, "Oh, okay, I like this, single button, you just touch the circle and it, acknowledges, and there's no big, having to jump through 5 or 6 different screens to get to what you're looking at, and then being able to set up the overrides because, I'm a heavy sleeper. So if something doesn't yell at me in the middle of the night, I'm not getting up. So it was all easy, all streamlined through the app, and being able to look at the app and go, okay, this is what this alert means, was great.
Yeah, this is great because this is what we strive to achieve. That, it's like you don't need a certificate to actually handle the solution. That's
Yeah.
the idea. Particularly in critical situations, you want to have something that doesn't give you a headache with respect to understanding what the solution is trying to tell you. So yeah,
Yep.
that's good to hear, and I'm sure our designers and our architects will love hearing that feedback.
Well,
Do you, by chance, remember some of the alerting platforms that you looked at before? Or in
we look,
parallel, I guess, or evaluated?
yeah, we evaluated the big one that we evaluated at the same time was PagerDuty.
Okay.
I had used it in previous roles, and it was kind of one of those, with the previous company that I was at, we used it pretty heavily. Um, and it worked well enough for what we needed. And so when we were evaluating new platforms at this new company that I was at Conexus, I just kind of thought, they had already set up PagerDuty
Okay.
with that, and so I thought, okay, well, this will work for us, and things like that, and so we rolled with that for a little bit. We looked at a handful, and to be honest, I cannot remember the names of the other ones that we looked at, because I know my boss had um, found actually found Signal 4 for us and sent it over as we were kind of evaluating things. And he said, hey, like, check this one out. This looks pretty cool. And so as soon as we started digging into Signal 4, it was kind of like, yeah, no, this has everything that we need. So there was I think there was 2 or 3 others that we looked at, but this one ended up being our go for sure.
I don't need to have the full list, but it's always good to understand, like, particularly because needs are different, right? Where like PagerDuty
Absolutely.
will serve in a certain context, like something like Signal 4 will serve in a different context. There is a reason all these solutions are out there. So I'm not trying to point my finger at competition. That's competition is always healthy. So that's not the point. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to understand like why someone decides for a particular solution, because that also, in my eyes, as we chat about this, will give the audience a perspective as like, hey, if I'm looking for something like this, then maybe it's worthwhile checking this out. And do you by chance know how your boss finds Signal 4? Probably not. He just forwarded it to you, right?
We kind of sat there and went, well, we need a little bit of stability. We don't, we need something that's not quite as upholden as, a direct US to Canadian relationship. So that we were looking for something more kind of international,
Okay.
Canadian / international base, with that. And so we also just started kind of Googling different alerting platforms, and found a handful, and he just said, hey, check this one out. I believe it has Germany is listed as your head office. And so,
Right.
he said, this is kind of an interesting situation. And then knowing that you have a European presence means that, you're very focused on, with all the GDPR requirements and all of the privacy and things like that. We knew that there was going to be maturity in that, when
Right.
it comes to handling data, and for us, coming from a security team, that's, kind of the number one question we ask is, what's happening with our data, who's got it,
Right.
what are they doing, how are they
Right.
securing it, those kind of things. So yeah, it was just I believe he found it just searching the web for alerting platforms, so worked out really well.
And that's great. So the international aspect, we've heard that a couple of times before, and like this is also always important to know because this is the angle we're coming from. That we say like we want to be a regional and locally reliable vendor with respect to we put our feet on the ground. So we are here for our customers, while at the same time, it is good in a world that is as global as ours is these days to have all the experience you can get. And for us, software development takes a place completely over in Europe as well. We don't outsource anything. Everything is in-house over in Germany. So that's always important for the team to have a little bit of like additional assurance, I guess, like this is the right way. And yes, the certification processes over in Europe are crazy, and we largely benefit from that over here in the States. I can tell you that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a pain when you're going through it and you're trying to get those certifications, but to those that are ingesting the platform, it's a nice kind of sigh of relief.
Right. That is correct. So just to maybe like two, three more things because that's kind of like interesting for the audience in my eyes as well. Like, what is it that you think provides the biggest value and utilizing Signal for just in like two, three words or sentences? Words should not be correct, but sentences. Like what brings most of the value to the teams?
Um, Three words: simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. It's the ability to be simple, robust, and and to fulfill everything that we're looking for within that simplicity.
Awesome. And if you have any tips for like maybe on a broader scale too, like with what you can share um, for other people that might be in similar situations like you were when you started looking for something, what would be your advice that you would give them?
Um, my advice would be I dealt with a lot of different platforms and different situations, and so my advice is always to find something that will grow with you, something that is not going to be a headache to manage, and something that you can see yourself being a companion with. Because when you're on a 24/7 rotation, like we mentioned earlier, these are things that are going to be getting you out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're going to be things that are going to let you know that something is on fire, especially if if you're a SaaS company or anything like that. The importance of getting ahead of things before they hit your customers. And so having something that is reliable, robust, will grow with you, and it is manageable is so important. It's something that when that alert goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not sitting there with a 50-50 guess of, well, this is just, a delayed alert, or this is, something that I should be ignoring, or, the world might be on fire right now. So that's my advice is always just to find something that you feel comfortable with and something that you feel is reliable.
This is awesome, Kyle. I think this is the word of the day. It doesn't get better than that. So with that, I I
Well,
say
thank you.
thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience and your thoughts and for this great, like, wrapping everything up recommendation. I think that's perfect. And looking forward to working with you in the future and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're here for the long haul, so I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You heard Kyle and Doreen talking about how Conexus Credit Union simplified incident response, reduced false alarms, and empowered its teams with Signal 4. If you'd like to learn more about how Signal 4 can help your organization achieve the same peace of mind, visit signal4.com. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss future episodes, and share this podcast with your network. Until next time, stay alerted.